Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Kenny Polcari and I am your host of the party. And today is March 22nd, 2022. And what is it that you need to know about what happened yesterday and what's going to drive the conversation today? Well, we can start with Jay because he changed the conversation yet again and admits that they just might be behind the curve. We can expect a 50 basis point move in May. He all but made that clear. Or maybe some are questioning, should it happen in April? Oil surges 7%. The Saudis demand more security from the U.S. if we want more oil. That's an interesting take on where we're going. And wait, don't we have enough of this oil in the U.S. anyway? Right, we're not supposed to ask that question. And 10-year and 30-year treasuries surge as money moves out of the treasury market. And what do we have for dinner tonight? We're going to have the champagne chicken breast. They are delicious and simple to make. So say it ain't so, right? This is what you say to express disbelief, disappointment, or grief when you realize that something unfortunate that you didn't expect to happen is about to happen. And so I'll say it again. Say it ain't so. Stocks sold off yesterday. The S&P falling more than 1%, while the Nasdaq fell 1.5% before recovering, but still ending the day at the lower end of the range after Jay Powell, while giving a speech titled Restoring Price Stability to the National Association for Business Economics, said, inflation is much too high and the Fed will take the necessary steps to address it, saying that further rate rises could be the more aggressive 50 basis points instead of the very gentle 25 basis points that he promised only last week. I'm guessing he's gotten a look at next month's CPI report that gives him a sense that it's going to be even hotter than even he expects. And to that I got to say, is somebody pulling my chain? Last week, while acknowledging that it could become an issue, but it wasn't yet a problem, has suddenly turned in, oh my God, it's much too high. Did he and the others get short ahead of the speech? I'm just asking for a friend, but that would be a legitimate question, right? Apparently, he must have woken up from his winter slumber. Think like hibernation, as the seasons changed over the weekend from winter to spring, right? He must have suddenly realized that while he was asleep, he has lost complete control of the process, that inflationary pressures are now at the boiling point, and he better do something fast. And to say that I say, Jay, you missed the boat. It left the dock 8 months ago, think in the summer of 2021, July actually, to be exact. Where were you and your colleagues when it was heating up, showing signs of boiling over, when street analysts and strategists and everyday Americans were making note of the rising prices everywhere we went? You turned around and prices were just skyrocketing all around us. I mean, look, last week he continued to tell us that the Fed had it under control and they expected inflation to ebb by the summer, so a gradual 25 basis point increases was appropriate. There was no need to worry. All while so many were calling for a 50 basis point increase in March and then another one in May. And then today, he comes out with this statement. It's confusing to the markets, it's confusing to investors, and it makes them look like they don't know what's going on. In fact, I am now wondering if they even do know what's going on. By the end of the day, stocks rebounded off the lows, but still ended in the minus column, right? The Dow had given up 200 points, or 0.6%. The S&P ended the day down 2 points, which is really a win. The Nasdaq lost 56 points, or 0.4%. The Russell gave up 20, or 0.9%. And the transports lost 130 points, or 0.8%. Now look, you know me. I've been calling for a 50 basis point increase for the January meeting, and I've been saying that since last November, early December. But alas, he and they thought it was appropriate to do nothing in January. Rather, they would wait until the March meeting where they chose to go ever so gently, telling us it's all good. Look, they are well behind the curve and only falling further behind the curve with these gentle 25 basis point moves. They need to move now, and they need to move decisively. 25 is clearly not doing it, and now I fear even 50 won't do it. And while 50 will be seen as an improvement in policy, all it does is allow them to fall behind the curve at a slower pace versus actually making an impact, right? Now, my gut says that they should do this, but I suspect that they absolutely won't. But here's what I think they should do, right? And it's got to be aggressive. They should move 1 full percentage point now. They should do it in between Fed meetings and send a message that while they may have been sleeping before, they aren't sleeping now. And then that brings us to May, where I think they should hit us with another full percentage point increase, getting us to 2.25% by early summer, a range that they have targeted for the late winter of 2023. Right? This then is going to leave them June, July, September, November, and December, or 5 more meetings to figure out if that's working. Remember, 2.25% is not high by longer-term historical standards, but it may appear high by these shorter-term historical standards, and current stock valuations are priced against the shorter historical standards. And that is why stocks will come under further pressure if, in fact, they make those aggressive moves. And we haven't even discussed how aggressive they might be in shrinking their $9 trillion balance sheet. They were hinting at 75 to 100 billion a month. Well, I say just make it 100 billion a month and call it a day. Just do it. For the most part, Jay's done a great job, right? He has navigated us through a very difficult time. But the signs were clear. This is not about hindsight that is 2020. No. You have to ask. It was clear. How come they didn't see it? Or did they choose not to see it last summer when it started to heat up? Look, last week we learned that the producer prices are up 10% year over year, while consumer prices are up 7.9%. And many analysts expecting them to continue to surge higher in the months ahead before it slows down at all. And if you think that's going to be in 1 or 2 months, you better think again. And the crisis in Eastern Europe is only exacerbating the inflationary pressure, something that higher rates are not going to be able to solve. Higher rates will not stop Vladimir Putin from sending bombs, and higher rates will not plant wheat, corn, and soybeans in Ukraine, right? Which is considered, by the way, the breadbasket of Europe. But that's a whole nother story on how we're going to deal with that, or how Europeans are going to deal with that. Now look, an off meeting would create angst, and that's in April. Right? And in some cases, panic. Think about the algos, which would see stocks get hammered for a bit. But once the market stabilizes, then it stabilizes. Remember, the market wants clarity, and after its performance yesterday, all it got was confusion. It got maybes and ifs and we'll see and let's take a look. So again, I say strap in, make your shopping list, build up your cash balance, and get ready to pounce. This conversation is not going to go away anytime soon, so we either get it over with or we suffer death by 1,000 cuts, right? Under the circumstances, stocks did end lower, according to the indexes, but they didn't get smashed at all. The worst performing sectors were communications, XLC down 1.2%, consumer discretionary, XLY down 1%. But recall, those two sectors have been the worst performers all year. And they were the biggest gainers on Friday when bargain hunters were scouring for opportunities and markets rallied into the weekend. All of the other sectors ended the day with losses of, say, less than 1%, so it wasn't a disaster, with the exception of energy, the XLE, which once again was the outperformer, rising 3%, leaving it now at 37% year to date, on the back of that surge in oil, which we'll talk about in a second. And curiously, basic materials, the XLB, also ended with a gain of 0.5%. 10-year treasuries rose, ending the day yielding 2.38%, up from 2.15%. On Friday, as investors piled into the safety trade. Gold up 0.4% to end the day at 1941 an ounce, ahead of what could be more volatility if rates began to rise at a faster pace than what even Jay has suggested. Oil surged by 7.5% or $7.90 a barrel to end the day at $112.60 on the back of the crisis in Ukraine, on the back of the Houthi attacks on a Saudi oil terminal, and on the back of lower production by OPEC Plus than what the markets have expected. This morning, we see oil down about 80 cents as trader types lock in some gains while it continues to try and find some stability. My sense is that we're in this $100, $120 range for the near term. Eco data today is all about the Richmond Manufacturing Index, right? The Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, something that will not move markets no matter what the result. Tomorrow's going to bring us new home sales, and those are expected to be up 1.1%. But keep your eyes on this because mortgage rates are going up and housing will come under pressure. 30-year Treasury yields went from 2.42 on Friday to end the day at 2.51 yesterday. 30-year mortgages are now running 4.5% on conforming and closer to 5% on jumbos. And don't forget interest rates on credit cards. That's something no one's talking about. It's already usurious at 14 to 25%, depending on your credit score, and they're going to go even higher, putting even more pressure on many households. So that's going to be a problem that we're going to see coming, but no one at the moment is talking about. This morning, European markets are all up. They were rising up between 0.5% and 1%. Investors there appear to be taking Jay's comments in stride, the ongoing war in Ukraine, and the latest Omicron subvariant all in stride. European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde is due to address the Bank of International Settlements Innovation Summit today, while the Bank of England Governor Andy Bailey is going to address them tomorrow. Let's see, what else can we talk about? U.S. futures are up. Dow futures up 125 points, the S&Ps are up 14, the NASDAQ higher by 45 points, and the Russell's up by 9. While Jay's comments were confusing, it is encouraging to see how the market held up yesterday and how futures are reacting today, right? Hey, look, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a 50 basis point move is the correct move. I guess we're about to find out, though. In all this confusion, there is opportunity. Clearly, energy has been one and will likely remain so. Higher rates, watch the financials. Both the XLF and the KRE are good proxies, right? XLF is the big institutions and KRE are the super regionals. Parts of technology are also attractive. I like cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and semiconductors are areas that I like, but I remain just a little bit underweight. I'm still overweight the value sector and large mega cap divvy players. Again, FVD, RDVY, and SDVY are interesting ways to incorporate this theme if you do not want to pick individual names. Cryptos are finding new life as some of the angst dissipates. Bitcoin's up 15% in the last week, trading at 42,500, while Ethereum is up 24% over the same time frame, trading at just over 3,000. The S&P closed at 4461, down 2 points after trading as low as 4424, as it hung on to the downtrending short-term trend line. 4471 is resistance, and if we push up and through that, then 4550 is the next real challenge. Right? On the downside, you look for 4285 to be a level that should find some support if we break significantly lower. Right? It's all a very tangled web we weave, but it is not a reason to bail at all. Stay in the game. Just be sure you know what you're invested in. It is quality over quantity is the way that you need to play this. Okay, so what are we having for dinner tonight, right? This is a great dish. It's different. You use some champagne, so it's more celebratory, right? So it's champagne chicken breast, and you can actually do this with pork cutlets as well. It is a classic dish. It's easy to prepare. It presents beautifully on a plate on a bed of sauteed spinach that you're going to just saute in some garlic and oil. And if you don't want to do that, you can just saute the spinach in butter with a little bit of salt and pepper. It's fine either way. So you want to start with skinless, pounded thin chicken breast. You want to dredge them in seasoned flour, right? Salt, pepper. And after you've dusted all the breasts in the flour, just set them aside for a minute. Now, in a large skillet, right? You want to melt 3/4 of a stick of butter, a splash of olive oil in the pan just so the butter doesn't burn. When it's almost sizzling but not burning, add the breasts and saute for about 4 to 5 minutes. At this point, then turn the breasts over, cook them for another 2 minutes, and then add 1.5 cups of champagne, right? And let it saute for 10 minutes more. Turn the heat down to medium-low. And let them just keep the cover off and let them just kind of saute in the juice for about 10 minutes more in the champagne. Next, you're going to add 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream after the 10 minutes, right? Light cream if you want, but heavy cream is always better. You want to add chopped Italian parsley and a bit of rosemary powder and continue cooking until it thickens up, right? The cream will get thicker as it gets hotter and the champagne evaporates away. Now, while this is cooking, you're going to saute some fresh spinach and garlic and oil and then make a bed of the spinach on the plate. When the chicken is done, you're going to transfer the breast to the individual plates on top of the spinach and then take a spoon and add some champagne cream just on top. You can drizzle it over the whole, over the chicken and a little bit over the spinach. You can have a nice mixed green salad garnished with cherry tomatoes, red onions, cucumber, dressed in a champagne vinaigrette, and that finishes off this meal nicely. You choose a lighter body red or even a chilled white to complete the presentation. In any event, it's a great dish. It's not that difficult to make, and your guests will wonder how you ever did it. In any event, until tomorrow, take good care.